dealing with the word that people are trying to teach you or tell you about. So, hi guys, this is Uncle Dallas. We're here. Welcome to the class. How to get what you need, what you want, and that kind of thing. So thank you very much, Mr. YouTube. Thank you, everybody that's joining me on TikTok, everybody joining me on Instagram, everybody joining me on Facebook. Thank you guys very much. Today I want to talk about the move of manifestation. I hear a lot of people talk about how to manifest. You know, I want to manifest. I'm gonna manifest. I hear a lot of people talking about manifestation. The challenge that I have is I don't think we know what the truth is about manifestation. I don't think that's the case. I think we know what manifestation is, and I think we know what we want manifestation to be, but I don't think we understand manifestation in the fullest extent of what it is. And so I'm going to talk to you about it today. I'm going to talk to you about it today and kind of, go over some of the things that can help you. Now, yesterday during our mentoring class, we did a situation that said in the beginning was the word. Now that came from John, and what I talked about was how the word began by its power and its authority. And for those of you that didn't get the video, those that want to be a part of mentoring class, I'm going to get that edited. Then I'm going to give whatever part of it that was clear and make sure I release that. So for those, and you already have your notes, so go over your notes and that kind of thing. But I want to see. I want to share something because I talk about perpetual law and perpetual law, and I also talk about circumstantial law. Perpetual law means it is long range. It always is the same. It never changes. Until we know different, gravity is a perpetual law. But you have to also understand that God has inundated and has placed these laws in available to us. So now those laws that we see are available to us. So, but within the perpetual law, you have to realize that God has placed you in that perpetual law. So, if you operate in those laws, you begin to get what those laws can offer you, what they're available to you. For example, if you know what goes up must come down, you can put something at a high place so that it will fall at the appropriate time, which means you are now in control of that law. You don't own the law, you control the law. If you control the law, you actually can benefit from the control of the law. So that being said, you follow the process of going, okay, how do I follow the law? So let me show something to you that took place. Now, in the book of Jeremiah, for those of you that are not Bible readers, in the book of Jeremiah is the Old Testament book, right behind it, Isaiah. It's one of those books that does a lot more instruction, but I go to that book, and in the first chapter, in the first chapter, in the 5th verse, and it says something very interesting, but I want you to hear this. It says, "Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. Before thou came out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations." Now, I want you to hear me very, very carefully. I want you to hear me very, very carefully. He said, "Before I knew you, before you were formed in the belly." Now, we're talking about something that is a timing outside of time, and that's another thing altogether. My quantum physics people kind of understand that. So outside of time, I knew you. And they said, "While you were in the womb, I sanctified you." Now, there was a thing called baptism that we use a lot of times in religious in religious sects. You understand that the water that you were in was a type of baptism or submersion. Now, this submersion was a type of preparation. It was also a type of protection. And so when you operate in those things, you understand, he said, "I formed you and sanctified you, and I ordained you a prophet to the nation." Now, if we looked at that passage, prophet to the nations, what we would find is when you hear the word prophet, you hear ordained utterance. That's the simplest way to put that. An ordained utterance. Now, I want you to see something. A prophet to the nation. Then I said, "Lo," then Jeremiah spoke, said, "Lo, I cannot speak, for I am a child," meaning he was immature. But the Lord said, "Say not that I am a child, for thou shalt go all the places that I send thee, and whatsoever I command thee to speak, thou wilt speak." Now, I want you to hear me now very closely. Hear me very closely. I really don't, I understand that a lot of us don't believe in Bible and don't believe in church and religion and all these types of things, and I got you. But I need you to understand something. Whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not, you are a spiritual being. You are being, either you call it spirit by energy or you call it spirit by spirit. You are not this external. Okay? So whatever was recorded into the DNA of your spirit, not the DNA of your flesh, not the one they can look at under a microscope, and they go deeper and deeper and deeper. And as we grow, maybe in the next 100 or 1,000 years, we'll realize that all this stuff is ran by energy and spirit. So he says, before you were formed in the womb, I knew you. Before you were before you were formed in the belly, I knew you. Before you were in the womb, I sanctified you. I prepared you. Then he says, now, so here's what I need you to understand. Deep inside of who you are the answers to what you want. Deep inside of who you are the answers to what you want. Now, all my mentees, those people that were part of the mentoring class, if you take this and add this to what we talked about last night, it'll bring you to a whole nother revelation. Deep inside of you are the answers to what you want. It was engraved into the spiritual DNA, which means it wasn't just the spirit or the actual of the spirit, it was the DNA of the spirit. It was the deepest part of the spirit. Inside of you is there. But what had to take place, society had to take that power and use it for their benefit, because if they used it for their benefit, you would never walk in the level of power that you walked into. So what's happening now, all the things around you are trying to muffle the voice that's already inside of you. Muffle the voice that's already inside of you. So when you look at this and you see him talking, he says, I sanctified thee and ordained thee a prophet to the nations. Now, I'm gonna show you something right here. If you look at Galatians, matter of fact, let's go over there. If you look at Galatians, the 5th chapter, my daughter said I need to start putting these things up on the screen so you guys can see them. And I'm going to do that as soon as I get somebody. Hey, if you want to come and assist me in this stuff, let me know. There's a job opening. Galatians 1:15. And so what I need you to understand is, right now, when I say people are living beneath their privileges, inside of who you are, in the DNA of who you are, is already recorded everything that you need. Now, for those of you that are watching here, you can also go to YouTube and watch us on YouTube. For you that are brand new, thank you for showing up. If you've seen it after recording, thank you for showing up. I appreciate you for being here. Tanika, make sure you give me a call. And I appreciate you for being here. I thank God for the opportunity to share something with you. I believe that it's going to change your life, and I believe that you'll be able to do some wonderful and great things. So when you are now, if you want to get on YouTube, this will be recorded on YouTube. This will be recorded on YouTube. All my people that are on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, like the video. Subscribe and like the video. Why? Because it gives us the opportunity to make sure the algorithm does what it needs to do. Okay? Now, so etched into your spirit, etched into who you are. Okay, etched into who you are. Let's look at this right here. Check it out. But it pleased God, who separated you from your mother's womb and called you by his grace. Okay, follow me now. So what was etched into your spirit, and I can go through this entire book. I sent you guys an email out, or text message. Some of you get it a little bit later. That you have to understand that what's etched into your spirit is the power of who you are. But if I never let you know that you are powerful, what I will do is put your dependency on my ability to give you power. Something I said last night is the thing that you have to understand last night is you have power, access to power, that's power extended. You're an extension of power, you're not accessing power. So that means you have power in you. It's like having a gun. You can have the gun in your pocket, which means it's an extension of you, or it's going to be on the counter, which means you have to access it. And anything you have to access, you're subject to the person that allows you to access it. So when you go, let's say you put your gun in your drawer. When you put your gun in your drawer, you have to make sure that drawer opens, because if that drawer doesn't open, you don't have access to that pistol or that weapon. You follow me? So your weapon, which is said, the weapons of your warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God through the pulling down strongholds. So in your DNA. He's going, when you were before you were in your mother's belly, I knew you. Before you were in the womb, I sanctified you. So your pressure through the womb made you a point of sanctification. Now, I know everybody's going to say something out here. What about babies that are born certain ways? What about situations that happen in certain situations? Listen, the thing I learned a long time ago is everything has a reason. Everything has a reason. But I need you to understand, I'm going to teach you a little lesson. Here's what I should need you to understand. Your life is not run by good things or bad things. God things or Jesus things. Devils or spirit. That does not run your life. That is a part of the life that you live, but that doesn't run your life. Hear me very carefully. Your life, your life is laws and principles. I don't have anything written down. Your life is laws and principles. So, however minute the law is, you break the law, that the penalties of that law apply. You follow me? The penalties of that law apply. So, when you take situations that say your answer is etched in your DNA, in order to get that answer muzzled and keep the spirit from speaking to you, I got to get you afraid. I have to make you confusion. Because the Bible says where there's confusion, there's every evil work. So, the confusion causes now those things that you would hear to be heard in a different mindset. Does that make sense? So, when you break the law, the penalties of the law are established. Let's say, okay, the president, I'm using it as an example. Let's say the president makes the law. And the law says if you drive over 55 miles an hour, you go to jail. Okay? Drive over 55 miles an hour, you go to jail. At that point, the law is in place. Anybody that witnesses you breaking that law can bring you to the point of going to jail. You follow me? That means that the president didn't put you in jail. The police officer didn't put you in jail. The law that applied to what you did caused you to have a penalty. Is that, you hear me? Why? Because everybody wants to explain that why is this happening in Ethiopia? Why is this happening in Africa? I had a young man say to me, he said, if God's so good, why hasn't he helped the people in Africa, all the people that are starving? And I said, number one, why haven't you? Why haven't you started a fund and in that fund begin to raise money for the people that don't have food? No, you want to blame a deity or blame something outside of yourself because you don't want to take responsibility for it. That's why I don't listen to people that say, oh my God, I don't believe in God, or I don't believe in the Bible, I don't believe in that. I'm not arguing with you, because my concern is not that you don't believe in it. My concern is, are you living the highest level of life you can live? And the highest level of life that you live is live how your DNA in your spirit is, how the DNA in your mind is, and your body being an obedient servant to the power that you walk in. So when he said this, he said, now here's the one joke. Check this out. Follow me here. He said, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nation. So the world that God has assigned to you has everything in it that you need and desire. Why don't I have a husband? You're not in the right world. You're in the world of fear. You're in the world of your past. You're not in the right world. And because you're not in the right world, what you find yourself doing is trying to turn this world into a world that you should be in because you don't want to move. But here's the interesting thing about that. Last night, all my mentees, I wish y'all go give hearts, give hearts, or give a like. All my mentees, remember I said in the beginning was the word? I got my notes here. Here's my notes, guys. We had a great class last night. This is our notes. See that? We had a wonderful class last night. In the beginning was the word. In the beginning, your foundation. I told you now, follow me. I said change the origination of the concept, but check this out. So follow me here. He said, I ordained you. Now, ordained means that he sanctioned you to be a prophet to the nation. That means he created you to be a voice. You are a voice. You are a voice that is ordained by the DNA of your spirit to speak life and to introduce things to your environment. But you are a royal voice. I can go say you're a royal priesthood and a holy nation. You are a royal voice, which means you don't just say it, you decree it. You don't just say it, you decree it. You don't just say it, you decree it. And when you understand, you don't just say it, you decree it. You stop giving excuses for the fact that you don't have something and begin to take hold of your ability to make that thing happen. You begin to take hold of the fact that what I have, what I need, what I desire are all within my utterance. Because I'm a prophet unto the nation. See, religion has told you prophets just somebody come and tell you about the future. Oh, I see your mama. I see money. I see, oh, ha, ba, 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 ba. And yes, I do pray in tongues. But a prophet is not there to speak future. He's there to change the atmosphere. So that means that you being in the right environment gives you the authority to change the atmosphere. But if you're in the wrong environment, you don't have the authority and you have to get permission to change the atmosphere. Y'all go ahead. You have to get permission to change the atmosphere. So, here's the funny thing. And here's the rub. So the moment that you understand that you are a prophet or a voice to the nations, you understand that what you have done is limited yourself, your voice, to the neighborhood. You're a voice to the neighborhood. You're a voice to next door. When you're supposed to be a voice to the nations. Now, why are you a voice to the nations? You're a voice to the nation because the authority that's been placed inside of you is outside of your ability to do it in church. It really trips me out where people will go to church and wait for their power, their authority to be released by a man that is not in charge of your power. That's not in charge of your pastor is not in charge of your power. The bishop is not in charge of your power. As a matter of fact, the bishop is a glorified deacon. Look it up. The key becomes we want to give validation to things that will control our lives when they don't have the authority to control our lives. But because we don't want to take responsibility, or we've not been taught by somebody that says, I don't have the power, you have the power. I can't run this 1,500 seat church by myself. That's why when people begin to leave a church, the church shut down. Why does it shut down? Because it is set on the fact that you have your power moving within that thing. When I did my mentoring class, they said, how much do you charge? I said, I don't charge anything. Everybody started going, wait, you gotta, what about tithes? What about offering? What about giving? Listen, my job is to give you a level of God's word that will change who you are. My job is to prophesy to the nations. My job is to speak liberty to your life so that you can get stopped. So you stop getting caught up in the tricks of religion, the tricks of church, the tricks of Christianity. No, I am a Christian. But there's a trick that's been played on you for Christianity. So my job is to stop that from happening to you. My job is to put you in a position where you have authority and you are a voice unto the nation. Most of us are not voices, we're echoes. Did you write that one down? Coach, my love? Most of us are not voices, we're echoes. And so what happens is we hear something and we echo that instead of hearing from God and decreeing that. So we don't echo or we don't decree what's been operated in our spirit. We echo what's been popularized through religion. 2009, you're going to be fine. So you're going to run, 2009, I'm going to be fine. Instead of going, you know what? My life is not determined by quick cliches and clever words by people that are great orators. My decree is determined by the fact that my spiritual DNA has been written at a level that when I utter a word, the atmosphere changes because I utter the word. That's why I talked about John yesterday. That's why I had the mentoring class. That's why I began to teach you. That's why there was an attack on the electronics and everything went crazy. Why? Because, my friends, if you ever catch that, all the other stuff is great and all the other stuff is built on top of that. But if you ever catch this one thing, it's not your church. It's not your ability to have Christian beliefs. It's your ability to be connected to God and the DNA that He placed inside of you is powerful enough to get you to the next level. What's the importance of me being in this planet? The reason I'm on this planet is to ignite that thing inside of you. That's why I'm in. That's why I was called for such a time as this. I'm here to ignite that thing inside of you, to get you to the point that there is no need, there is no lack. And when you speak, the world moves. Right now you speak and you hope it happens. Right now you speak, you think it might happen. And then you call it faith because I believe, I believe, I believe. Believing is not faith, honey. Believing is not faith. Believing is convincing yourself that it's real. Faith is it's real. Faith is this hat. See this hat? This hat is real. I don't have to believe it's real. I don't have to think it's real. It's a hat. It's real. So faith is the evidence of this, and it's the substance of this. So I'm not trying to believe that it's real. I know that it's real because faith says it's the evidence and the substance. So if it's the evidence and the substance, then why am I trying to believe it? No, what I want to believe is who made it and what I should do about it. You don't have to see. I learned that a long time ago, and it becomes very difficult for those of it, and even me. It becomes difficult to say there is not going to be a situation where I end up lacking. Now, the key becomes now I have to get to the point where I go, there is not a point where I will end up owing. I will live in my overflow. I will owe to those people nothing but to love them. So now the belief becomes, how do I move in the place where there is no lack in my life? I become the voice and stop becoming an echo. Most of us have become echoes because church has taught us how to become an echo. Church never taught us how to be a voice. Because church never taught you how to be a voice, because they're not going to let you say what you want to say or what God says in church unless you submit it to the person that is over the church. And the only person that should be over the church is God. So what happens is when God speaks something to you and you're supposed to hear it and supposed to use it and supposed to operate in it, and you're sitting in the pew going, why can't I say what I need to say? Why can't I do what I need to say? You're not in the environment where your voice is important. You're in the environment where your job is important, your task is important, your money is important, but not your voice. I don't need you to talk. That's what Wednesday is for. Wednesday is for asking questions. A friend of mine said, if you start a church, he said, are you going to preach? I said, yes, I will. He said, how long are you going to preach? I'm going to say, I'll preach whatever God tells me to preach. He said, what makes you any different than anybody else? I said, because after I finish preaching, we talk. We talk. And now I'm not going to yell, if you know what you want to do, how you going to do it? How you going to do it? That's not going to happen. Why? Because me hooping and hollering is not going to change the way your life needs to go. I don't become a voice to you if I'm doing that. When I become a voice to you is when I give you applicable applications that allow this thing to take place in your life. Now, I have a friend of mine that can preach down the moon, and the boy can preach. But preaching is an emotional state that gives gratification to the person that's doing it. Teaching is an assignment to give to the person that is listening ammunition to move to the next level. My job is to teach you. My job is not to preach at you. And so what preachers will say, well, teaching and preaching is the same thing. No, my brother, it's not. Even when you look at the Bible in Ephesians, apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers, not preachers, not hoopers, not hollerers, teachers. Apostle sets up the foundation. Prophets change the atmosphere. A pastor, he gathers the people and nurtures the people. Evangelist shares the revelation of who God is. Pastors gathers together. Teachers administrates the word so that they can actually digest it. 5 being the number of grace. Anytime you see 5, you see the number of hand. You see the hand of God. So there were 5-fold ministry, the 5 gifts, all these things. All these things that begin to happen are set according to that number. But a prophet is supposed to bring the voice of God and change the atmosphere. He said, a prophet unto the nations. The reason there were no apostles in the Old Testament, there was no pastors in the Old Testament, there were no evangelists in the Old Testament, because all that needed to be said in this dispensation was God's voice. Because he was establishing his terminology and establishing his language in the ear of people. So when Christ came, it became an inward thing. So now what Christ is doing, or the Spirit is doing at this level, is learning how to bring that to bubble up inside of you. That's what prophetic is. It's a bubbling up. So now, when it was an outside speaking, it was where they had to hear it. They had to sacrifice the turtle dove. They had to hear it. But in the new way, in the transition said, now what I do is I wake up your spirit and allow your spirit to speak. And when I allow your spirit to speak, what I'm allowing to happen in your life is I'm allowing you to be able to move and have your being according to the obedience of the Spirit. I have no need to be controlled. If you are going to church right now, the purpose of going to church is to learn the revelation that he is sharing or she is sharing. It is not so that you are controlled by the oracles and the rituals and the dogma of church, because you're the church. So my job, you're going to church right now. You're going to church right now. The only difference in what you're doing right now and what you do over there is you're not obligated to take care of the building. You are learning how to be a voice. The second thing, when you leave what I'm teaching you, you can go places and take this to a level that will transition people around you. Everybody, once you get this information, call somebody up and teach them. Call somebody and say, hey, I just learned something. You need to hear it. Why? Because when you do that, you solidify your voice, a prophet to the nations. Then we go to verse 6. Then I said, I can't speak because I'm a child. It is interesting that we will make every excuse in the world to be weak, but we won't take responsibility to be strong. Well, my wife we went to go scuba diving. We went to go scuba diving, and there was a guy. Now, those of you that can't see me now. I'm 6'6", about 295 pounds. I'm a wide brother, tall brother. Those that know me know I'm tall. So a brother comes with us that's there, and what he does is he is allowed to train with us on scuba diving. He was going to be trained how to go underwater, how to do the whole things that we were doing. We were trained. Now, we paid for it. He was going to get it free of charge because he was there with us. We go down under the water. Once we go down under the water, we both were there in the mass. While we're sitting there, I look up and he's gone. Why? Because he was afraid of what was about to take place. The fear hit me as well, but I realized that those things that I fear, especially when everything is in good standing, have two categories. Either it's something revealed by my spirit, or it's something that's being tried to inundate me by the flesh. Say it again. It's either something that's being revealed by the spirit, or something that's trying to be given to me by my flesh. So when the Bible says fear the Lord, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, it means that something is being warned of you. How do you know the difference then? Warning does not give you a feeling of fear. It doesn't make you uncomfortable or nervous. Warning is at peace. It's like somebody saying, hey, Dallas, don't go over there. Why? Man, there's a hole on the ground on your car. Oh, okay, cool. You're not going, Dallas, man. No. There's a level of understanding when you come to that. So that bubbles up in you from the spirit does not bring a fear. It brings instructions and it shows care. So he left. Got his stuff, dropped off that stuff, and went on about his business. Why? Because he allowed whatever he thought was fearful to control him when there was nothing to be afraid of. Those of you that ever thought about scuba diving, you have this to breathe, you have this to see, you have this to float, and you have that to give you air. There is impossible for what we call a discovery dive. It's impossible for you to die in a discovery dive. Impossible. You're 30 feet, that's as low as you can go. That means you can take everything off and just swim to the top. You ain't even got to swim. The jacket you have on, push the button, the float will come on and float you to the top. It is impossible to die. The only way for you to die is you decide to kill yourself. because you're only 30 feet down. Most human beings can swim 30 feet down. That is the same thing that's going on right now. He said, but I am a child. He said, now, I want you to check this out. He said, I'm a child. Look at verse 8. He said, be not afraid of their faces, for I will deliver thee, saith the Lord. Now, that's verse 8. Now, verse 6 says, the Lord said, you will go where I go and say what I say, speak what I speak. He wasn't telling him, shut up, do what I say. He's saying to you, once you realize that before you were formed, I was there. When you were in the womb, I was there. When you came forth, I was there. When you realize that he etched into your DNA the answer to the question, you don't have a reason to be fearful. What he's saying to you is, I will speak for you. I will be a voice, and that voice will change the atmosphere. Even people that don't want to listen will listen when that voice happens. So what's your challenge? Good. What's your challenge? Well, my husband is acting crazy. How are you speaking to him? Let me take it a step further. How much are you speaking to God about it? And how much are you moving in the spirit about it? And how much are you moving in the flesh about it? How much are you moving in the spirit? How much are you moving in the spirit? How much are you realizing that you begin to speak to the atmosphere, sit in your room and go, atmosphere, our relationship is going to be amazing. Atmosphere, we're never going to run out of money. Atmosphere, we're not going to die. Speak to the atmosphere. Speak to your spirit. That's meditation. Speak to yourself. Meditation. We're never going to run out of money. Every bill we have is going to be paid. Every bill we have is going to be paid. If you got to write each one of those bills down and say, these bills are going to be paid, these answers are going to be given, these situations are going to be fulfilled. Why? You've got to get yourself to understanding that as you move all the fears and disappointments and lies out of your way, you have total access to the bounty that is your spirit. Not your mind, the bounty that is your spirit. You have total access to the bounty that's your spirit. Why don't we have that access to the bounty? We're not taught that. We're not taught the access to the bounty. We're simply taught how to maintain a consistent flow at every church or every religion and every religion. I'm talking about Nation of Islam, I'm talking about the Hebrew Israelites, Church of God in Christ, Church of Christ, Hinduism, Buddhism. All of those things limit your ability to access the Spirit. Why does it limit your ability to access the Spirit? The very moment that you have to identify yourself with a category of religion, you step down. The very moment you identify with a category of a spiritual position, you step down. If you have to say you're a Christian, then we got a problem. There should be no difference between whether you're being a Christian or a Buddhist. That's a name. Like, I'm a human. My father's name was William. My name was William. My son's name was William. We all have consistencies. Now, my son, well, we all grow a beard. My son can grow a big beard. My father, he couldn't grow a beard, but he could grow hair. All these things, all these consistencies are the things that make us one. But we're all Williams. You're all spiritual, every one of you. But if you're trying to call your specific ritual better than my specific ritual because you chant and I pray, you carry beads and I carry a Bible, why? You've not realized that you are a voice to the nations, that you are engraved in your DNA, in your spiritual DNA, is the answer to your question. It is not answered by any man. I can't answer them because I don't know the questions. Now you sit down with me, with coach, and I counsel you. I can tell you all the answers to the questions that I hear, and I feel them in my spirit. But the goal is for you to hear them and feel them in your spirit. That's the goal. Never get set up on timing or any type of framework. Make sure you go to Jeremiah, the first chapter, 5, 6, and 7. Study that. Study how that speaks to you. Study it from the standpoint, okay, if I am already predestined to be something great, why am I not great? Number one, he showed it right there in verse 6. He said, I'm a child, I'm afraid. I'm a child, I'm afraid. He said, oh, the Lord, behold, I came and I cannot speak, for I'm a child. He said, I'm a child, I can't speak. I can't articulate the spiritual words necessary to be in the next spiritual place that you've called me. So what do? You begin to stop depending on your knowledge, your intelligence, your smarts, and all those things, and begin to depend on God. Depend on the God that speaks to you, and begin to live the life of a voice and stop living the life of an echo. How do we live the life of a voice? I spend time in prayer consistently. I spend time in prayer consistently. And the reason I spend time in prayer, because when I spend time in prayer, I begin to understand that there's a spiritual ethic that I pay not attention to. Do you know everything that's ever happened to me, every great miraculous thing that's ever happened to me had absolutely nothing to do with my ability to read the Bible? Because here's what the thing is. Here's the thing. And now check this. I get this all the time. I get atheists, I get Bible people, I get all these people to come and say, do this, prove this, act this, say this. And I say to every one of them, in order for me to do this, because I look at the principles in the Bible, in order for me to do this, people said to me, okay, so what about this, this, and this? Well, if the Bible is this, I say, it's amazing to me that you will take and question the Bible, but you don't question the math book and the book that said it was slavers and book that said the white are better than better. You don't question none of those books. You know why? Because everybody wants to question something that holds authority. That's how I know I'm doing right. When people start questioning me and people start putting me in a position where you go, well, I don't believe God is real. Why are you on my line then? Why are you at my seminars? Why? Because you want to say something, because in the immaturity of it, instead of going, okay, let me see where the consistency is in that. Most people have never picked the Bible up because they don't understand it's a book of principles. Because you're so caught on the fact that it's about Jesus, it's about the Holy Ghost, it's about church. It's not about any of those things. These are principles that you live. Pick up Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It gives you the principles of money. Pick up every writing gives you a position to be a voice and not an echo. It takes you out of that level. So what happens is, when you use the references here to help you get to the next level, I don't argue. I have no reason to argue. I have seen amazing things. I told you guys last week when I went into a situation and the young lady was there. They asked me to go pray for her. I went to go pray for her. She was dead. She got raised from the dead. Now, I didn't read a scripture over her. I didn't start chanting words. I went in on the energy and the power that I had as a voice. And so I spoke life to it, and life came to it. Now, I can tell you hundreds of things that have happened. Most of you will believe them. Most of you won't. Why? Because I came to the point to realize that in my mother's womb, there was something written on my spiritual DNA that said I could be great. They said I could be great. But when situations and circumstances begin to happen, I begin to doubt my ability to be great. And so what I did is I began to fall back into the protection of mediocrity. I began to fall back into the protection of mediocrity. I began to slide back into not taking responsibility for my life. I began to slide back into situations where I began to question things that made no difference to my ability to grow. It was simply my ability to sound smarter than somebody else. My ability to sound smarter than somebody else. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you a little secret. Most people that you're dealing with right now want to be better. They're so afraid that they're going to be wrong, they're going to be hurt, or the thing that happened to them last time is going to happen to them again, because we're here to try to protect ourselves. I stopped trying to protect myself. I stopped trying to protect myself. I stopped trying to protect myself. Because everything that ever happened to me was the fact that I didn't know the Bible like I did. The first time I prayed for that lady, I didn't know the Bible back to back. I just simply knew that there was a power inside of me that was more powerful than what was dealing with her. And I knew that if I said the right things and did the right things, that power will be there. See, the one thing you have to understand in our society is the evidence of our society is not the things that we know, because the people that know it don't know what they know. The evidence is those that have gone before us begin to put those things into writing, so you now can understand what those things mean. We don't know what things mean because we never use and realize the Spirit. That's why I don't buy that. We don't get arguments. Why? Because I want you to explain to me, because everybody, I said, okay, explain to me what happened when I prayed for that lady. What happened? Well, her energy was, she was really ready to come back. She was dead. Well, she was dead. She was dead. So if her energy was there, why did I need to be there? Why? Of all the places in the world, why did I need to be there? There is a cosmic source that takes place that will take you to the next level if you begin to understand spirit. If you understand spirit, the Bible itself says this: the letter killeth, but the spirit gives life. Because the letter gives instructions of a direction, but the spirit gives power to that direction. The letter gives instructions for direction. The spirit gives power to that direction. That's why when you go to school, they give you a math book or they give you an English book, because it's not supposed to limit you to one language. It's supposed to give you the framework of the language that you use. Why? Because before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thy came forth out the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nation. Then it says, verse, I'm jumping the passage. It says, but then the Lord said to me, say that I am a child, for thou wilt go where I shall send thee, and whatsoever I command thee to speak, thou shalt speak. He said, don't worry about it. I got you. I got you. You are a voice. You're not an echo. You're not some seedy, you're not some weak person that can't come up with his own processes and own thoughts. You're a conduit for the Spirit. However the Spirit decides to speak to you, he'll speak to you. He'll speak to you through a television. He'll speak to you through anything, any means he wants to go, but he'll do it. Your key has to become, the more knowledge you get about the Spirit, the stronger you'll be able to move in the Spirit and operate in the Spirit. And then there comes a point where you don't need that knowledge. You're simply operating because you know the voice enough that when the voice is spoken, you heard it. So I was watching, one day I had a car, I was in Atlanta, Georgia, and a friend of mine wanted to borrow the car. And when a friend of mine wanted to borrow the car, I wasn't going anywhere. I was at home all day. I'd just come back from traveling, and I was at, they said, hey, would you like me, can I borrow your car? I want to go to a revival. I'm like, what time is the revival? They said 7 o'clock. It'll probably end about 9. I'm like, that's just 2 hours. Matter of fact, when you get the car, take the car to work. And when you get off work, come home, because I'm not going anywhere. I literally had just come from California, jet lag, and I was really tired. So they took my car, and she left at about 7 o'clock, and about 7:30, I get a phone call. He's like, hey, Dallas, what's up? I said, nothing. Do you have insurance on your car? And I'm like, that's a weird question. What do you mean? What had happened was my car combusted because of the oil line or whatever the situation was, and the car caught on fire. And what they were trying to do is figure out how to get the car put the fire out and make sure that my insurance covered the car. Got it. So I'm mad. I'm sitting on the bed mad because it was my car. It was my car. While I'm sitting on the bed, there was a pastor on TV, and I haven't seen this video since then. While I'm watching television, and I'm going, I cannot believe you did this, God. What's going on? What did I do wrong that you do in my car? Why did thou forsake me? When I said that, the pastor looked at the camera and said, you think God forsake you. God didn't forsake you. You were going, I'm like, oh, nope. I turned the channel before you finished. When I turned the channel to the next channel, there's a young lady preaching on that channel. And when I turned the channel, it hit her station. She said, hold it, stop. Everybody needs you to pray. Somebody thinks God is forsaking them. They need God to move in their life right now. I'm like, what? What the heck? So I turned the TV off. I was mad. I wanted to stay mad. I didn't want to hear none of that mess. I didn't want to hear Christian, Jesus. No, I didn't want to hear none of that mess. So I turned on The Simpsons. As I watched The Simpsons, I watched Flanders, that lived next door, walked out of his house, walked into his church. He looked up toward heaven and says, God, I don't know what to tell you, but I'm kind of having a hard time right now. I stopped and I went and began to pray. Because I watched 3 television shows speak to me. Had nothing to do with the Bible. 3 television shows spoke to me to calm down on what was going on. Because I really thought God was mad at me because something happened to me. You have been etched with power in your spirit that is greater than any situation and any circumstance in your life. A year later, I got a Mercedes-Benz S-Series. Given to me. Given to me. I didn't have to pay for it. All I had to do was put gas in it. When you understand that etched into your spiritual DNA is the answer to the question and the answer to the problem, you won't get caught up in all the situations. You won't argue at people. You won't fuss at people. You just kind of laugh because they have no idea the level of God that is operating in your life and the level of the Spirit that is there. They have no idea. Now, that's it, guys. My YouTube family, I appreciate you guys. Again, like, subscribe, make sure you hit that bell so you'll know every time we do this. We're on here Wednesdays, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Wednesday night we do a relationship thing. We're going to we're already on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, all those places. Make sure you follow us. Get the information. Hopefully you take good notes. If you want to be a part of the mentoring group, make sure you either DM me or email me, and we'll get you that information. The mentoring group does not cost a dime. We simply ask you that when God speaks to you to move, do it. And whatever level He tells you to speak, whatever level He tells you to do it, you do it. And that's all we ask you. We don't ask you at a certain level. I don't even tell you what the level is. Just do it. Why? Whatever He tells you to do, you do. Why? When you do it, He now operates at releasing what you've sown into. But if I tell you what to do, then it's my responsibility to pray for you to get. But if I let you do as the Bible says this. This is the principle. The spiritual principle says this: as a man purpose in his heart, so let him give. Not grudgingly, not of obligation, but a cheerful giver. God loves a cheerful giver. So that's what I say. So if you want to be a part of that, make sure you write down in the notes in the YouTube, or make you DM us, find us in all the different places and look for Higher Talk. All right, my people on YouTube, my family on YouTube, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys for hanging out with us. I appreciate you guys for being with us. All right, I will see you later on tonight. No, I will see you on Friday. Okay, talk to you later, YouTube. Peace.